Hello everyone, Chapter 1 is here with new movie recap. The movie name is Forgotten. The movie released in 2017. Spoilers ahead. The movie begins with Jin moving into a new house with his parents and older brother, Yu. Jin looks up to Yu, who is smart, athletic, and well liked by friends and his family. Despite a limp on his left leg from a car accident that happens to him a few years ago, Yu stays active. As they settle into their new home in 1997, they unpack with help from movers. Jin learns he'll be sharing a room with Yu temporarily since the previous owner still stores belongings in one of the rooms. While they're organizing, their mom calls Yu downstairs, leaving Jin with a mover, who comments on Yu's age. Jin brushes it off, as people often don't think they look alike. Yu returns, sending the mover to help their mom, and the brothers continue setting up their room. After a long day of moving, the family celebrates with a big dinner, despite a rainy night. Jin's father reminds them not to enter the locked room, as the previous owner asked for time to empty it within a month. Jin agrees without much thought. As they enjoy the meal, Jin hears a loud noise coming from the locked room, but the others assume it's just thunder. Before the meal ends, his father reminds him to take his antidepressant medication. Later that night, Yu goes to bed, while Jin listens to music. Another loud noise comes from the locked room, and Jin decides to investigate. Just as he's about to open the door, Yu appears, asking what he's doing. They listen carefully but hear nothing. Yu, seeing Jin's worry, takes him outside for some fresh air. They stand in the rain and talk, with Jin thanking Yu for always being there for him. Soon after, Yu gets a call from their father and heads inside, leaving Jin alone in the rain with his music. When Jin decides to return inside, he shockingly witnesses Yu being kidnapped by a group of men who shove him into a van and drive off. Jin races back to alert his parents but collapses from the shock. While unconscious, he has vivid dreams that feel strangely real. After a few days, Jin wakes up to his relieved parents, but Yu is still missing. Detectives arrive to question Jin, who recounts the kidnapping in detail, including the license plate of the black van. But the detectives claim that no such van exists, frustrating Jin and ending the interrogation. The family waits, hoping the kidnappers will contact them for ransom, but weeks pass without any leads. As time drags on, Jin begins to experience recurring dreams that feel eerily real, along with nightmares about the locked room. Then, on the 19th day after the kidnapping, Yu suddenly returns home with no memory of what happened. Doctors believe his traumatic experience caused him to repress his memories. Jin sees little behavioral changes in Yu. He regularly leaves the house late at night and returns early in the morning, but at first Jin ignores it. When Jin puts his antidepressant pill beneath the kitchen counter one day by accident, Yu stops him and invites him to lunch, forcing Jin to forego taking his medication for the day. Yu suggests that everything Jin is asking him about his nighttime activities might just be a dream. Following their dinner, Yu departs to carry on with his routine, but Jin observes something odd as he does so. Yu is hobbling on his right leg rather than his left. After chuckling, Yu departs, leaving Jin perplexed and heading back to his room to prepare for his impending admission exam. One evening, Jin's family gathers for dinner before he heads back to his studies, eventually falling asleep at his desk. Suddenly, Yu wakes up, waves a mechanical pen near Jin's face, and leaves the house. Jin, pretending to be asleep at first, decides to follow him. When Yu gets into a taxi, Jin quickly hops into another taxi to trail him. They both end up at a nearby market. Jin watches as Yu meets two men, who turn out to be the same detectives that questioned him a few weeks ago. As Jin tries to follow further, the two men stop him and give chase, forcing Jin to run. Just when he thinks he's safe, Yu appears out of nowhere and sedates him. The next day, Jin wakes up back at his desk, as if the entire night was a dream. Panicked, he rushes to lock himself in the bathroom, trying to make sense of what happened. Yu tries to calm him down, insisting that Jin's experience was just a hallucination because he missed his medication the day before. Reluctantly, Jin apologizes and believes him. However, later, when Jin finds the pencil lead Yu dropped during the night, he realizes that Yu shouldn't have known anything about the taxi, confirming his suspicion that something is wrong with his brother. Jin shares his doubts with his mom and comes up with a plan to follow Yu the next time he sneaks out. That night, Jin has another nightmare about the locked room in their house. Waking up in the middle of the night, he goes to the kitchen for water and overhears his mother talking on the phone, warning Yu that Jin is starting to grow suspicious of them. Realizing something is terribly wrong, Jin makes a noise, which alerts his mom. He quickly runs outside to hide, but when she doesn't find him, she checks his room. Jin manages to climb back into his room through the window just in time, soaking wet from the rain, and hides under his blanket. His mother notices the open window and knows he's been outside. She calls his father, revealing that their cover is blown. Feeling cornered, Jin jumps out of the window and runs into his father at the gate, who tries to convince Jin that they are still his real family. However, Jin no longer believes them and sprints to the nearest police station, chased by one of the thugs. When he explains the situation to the police, they are left confused. When Jin mentions that he's 20 years old, the officers look more puzzled and ask him to check a mirror. To his shock, Jin sees an older man staring back at him. He suddenly realizes the year is 2017, not 1997. In a state of confusion and anger, Jin returns to the house and heads straight to the locked room. Inside, he finds two mannequins covered in fake blood. His family confronts him, and the man pretending to be his brother explains that 20 years ago, on December 20, 1997, a murder occurred in the house. A mother and her teenage daughter were killed, but the case was never solved. Years later, the victim's family hired the man pretending to be you to uncover the truth. After thorough investigation, the young man concludes that Jin is the murderer. To confirm it, his team kidnaps and tortures Jin, trying to force a confession. But Jin has no recollection of committing any crime. The young man then resorts to hypnosis, hoping it will jog Jin's memory. They devise a plan to take Jin back to his last happy memory, recreating the events leading to the tragic night. Everything goes smoothly until the young man is arrested for fraud and held for 19 days, explaining the kidnapping Jin saw. The strange sounds from the locked room turn out to be the man's team staging the crime scene, and they keep Jin under hypnosis by giving him a special medication he thinks is for his depression. Although Jin starts to believe the story, he insists he's not a murderer. In a moment of panic, Jin jumps out of the van and flees, but his escape is cut short when he's hit by a truck. Lying on the ground, memories begin to flood back. Jin recalls being in a car accident with his real family, which killed his parents and left his older brother critically injured. 6 months later, a doctor tells him his brother needs surgery, but Jin, struggling financially in a tough economy, is desperate. He posts online looking for work and receives an anonymous job offer, to kill a woman in exchange for money. Though hesitant, Jin accepts due to his dire situation. The anonymous user provides the address and instructs Jin to leave the woman's children unharmed. But once inside the house, Jin has doubts and is about to leave when the woman sees him with a knife. She screams, and Jin begs her to stay quiet. Unfortunately, her daughter comes downstairs, sees the scene, and panics. Jin chases her, accidentally stabbing her in the process. The woman's subsequent screams cause Jin to act out of fear, and he kills her too. Just before leaving, he encounters a young boy. Jin tells him to count to 110 and wait for his mother, and the boy obeys. As Jin leaves, he realizes that the house belongs to his brother's doctor. The anonymous user, as Jin suspected, is the doctor, who wanted his wife dead for her life insurance to save their children from financial ruin. When the doctor learns Jin killed his daughter too, he flies into a rage and tries to kill Jin. During the struggle, the doctor slips and falls to his death. Jin wakes up in the hospital, and the young man, who had been impersonating his brother, is there. He's about to inject poison into Jin's fore when Jin finally admits to the murders, recalling every detail. As Jin confesses, the young man reveals that he was the little boy from that night. After growing up in an orphanage and losing everything to greedy relatives, he wanted to know who ordered the hit on his mother. He had always suspected his father, who had taken out several insurance policies before the murder. Jin lies, claiming he acted alone, but the young man sees through it. Devastated by the truth he had always feared, the young man walks away, unable to cope. He jumps from a window, and Jin, equally overwhelmed, injects himself with the poison. Both are destroyed by the truth in the end. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos. Have a good day. Take care.